Hey friends, it's Amara. I've been doing something special because it is holiday time, and I had this idea that I would try and build a gingerbread house, but not just any gingerbread house. I wanted to build Smith Tower. Now, Smith Tower is Seattle's oldest skyscraper, and at some point we'll actually probably go in Smith Tower and do a whole big tour of that area, but I wanted to see if I could build a gingerbread house that looked like Smith Tower. So that is what I've done. It was a fun process, and I really want to share that with you. This is how I went about trying to assemble Smith Tower. I deconstructed Smith Tower in pieces. Looking at pictures, I focused on what was the most important facets of it. I made a bunch of sketches, and they all turned out in the beginning to be way too big. I didn't want to make a giant gingerbread house, I just wanted to make one that was different. I went back to the drawing board and started over, starting with the most memorable piece, that front shot of Smith Tower that is so grand and Victorian, and came up with some representations that look pretty much like that building. I thought it through like puzzle pieces, like when you're a kid with tangrams. It doesn't have to be to scale, it doesn't have to be perfect. I'll make a little bit of extra gingerbread and fix it as I go. This is just for decoration after all. Wherever possible, I made things as simple as possible. And there is a tilted side where it comes out a little bit, and I decided I will try and attempt to do that, but in worst case scenario, we'll just lop these off and make another rectangular side. Next, I'm gonna take these pieces and trace them onto cardboard. And this one is the front. I keep on cutting them until I've figured out basically all the pieces. This will be a complicated one because this is the base body and this is a lid that covers over on the top. This piece is about the same size as the original. Left side, kind of eyeballing it big time with this one. Leaving a little bit of extra angle here. Realistically, I don't think this bend will be this dramatic, but I'd like to have the extra gingerbread just in case. So those are all of my pieces. It's recycling time. And because I like to recycle, I'm now going to cut them out on this piece of cardboard from an old birch box. I don't think this will be enough cardboard for all of the Smith Tower. I may go ahead and get another piece. All I need to do now is once again retrace my pictures. I'm gonna lay them out just like you would with a pattern to make sure I've got enough space. Nope, I don't think this is gonna be big enough, and I don't wanna get any cuts on that stuff that's got the big bend in it. I'm gonna go ahead and cut out specific pieces on this one and then go looking for another piece of cardboard for the rest of it. Well, this bit of Smith Tower almost perfectly fits here, so this will be a great one. I make a pile off to the side of the ones that I have traced so I don't trace them twice. This little triangle, I don't need to cut it out 4 times, but I do need 4 copies of it. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is trace this once here, and then write once again on top of it, X4, so I remember. And again, laying my pieces that I've already used over here so that I have them for later. What you're gonna wanna make sure is that all the cardboard you're working with is about the same depth because you're gonna use them to make a model. You want them all to stand in similar ways. Try not to crack it because you're gonna want these divots to be helping to strengthen. This part would not do a good job of holding it up, but this one that's still a single whole piece, even though there's a little warp in it, that's gonna probably do a good job. This one's a top bit. Because of the way it's cut, I can kind of cheat and use some of these sides. So I'm gonna try and get the cleanest cut edges here. Less cutting, less chance of warping the cardboard. It's really the top in various pieces. And again, there will be a center section that doesn't even exist, etc., etc. So we're keeping the more detailed plans around for markers and these for the actual build. And we'll change them as we need to. Always keep some extra cardboard around just in case you do manage to make a cut and bend one of these boards. You're gonna probably want to start over. It'll just make life easier. And in this case, as is often the case when you make something that has kind of a small tilt like this, sometimes it's easy to break it off from the original base piece and then cut that smaller piece out. All you scrapbookers out there already know all this stuff. Now I have all the pieces ready to go. Put this guy together, and the reason to test to make sure all the pieces were working out right, this all worked actually really well. This, however, I'm gonna need to make a new base that fits into this space. I'm gonna go ahead and break all of this apart, make that piece that's a square to fit here. So I fixed that top piece, nice rough draft of Smith Tower. And now disassemble all these pieces and let's gingerbread this thing up. You gather all your stuff together. We've got flour, we've got dark brown sugar. This is legit black strap molasses. I'm doing a double batch, so there's twice as much butter as normal. We have ground cloves, I ground those myself, so this could get interesting. Cinnamon, ground ginger, baking soda, and water, and then the flour. There's a whole bunch of it here. I wanna make sure there's plenty in case this all goes flopsy-doodle. Take breaks to scrape everything off of the side or in between the beaters. It smells good. Now that everything is mixed together, you want to blend in the water. You want to put the flour in slowly so it mixes in. Not going to use this side. That's for pouring liquid. You want to use the bigger one. In a perfect world, you'll sift this flour. pause to scoop all this stuff off the edge. I do have a fake dough that's happened here. So I'm gonna stop. Hey friends, because of the specific nature of this kind of dough, I actually have to put it into a bowl and let it sit for about 30 minutes. It needs to chill, gingerbread and chill. Put all of this in a bowl and then we're gonna cover it up and stick it in the fridge and it's gonna chill out. It's gonna hang out. So chill, it's falling off the beaters. It smells good. It looks ridiculous, but it smells great. Take your gingerbread out, and it is much harder. It says to roll this out onto a baking sheet. We've rolled out the gingerbread, so now we're taking this and we're cutting out all of the various shapes and align them up as well as they'll fit. I'm gonna cut these out. These will stay on this sheet. Go ahead and you just cut down the sides. All of this that isn't going to stay, that goes now back into the bowl, back into the gingerbread cauldron for round 2. These are all the pieces that'll go on this tray, and then I'll use all of this to make the rest of the pieces that I don't have yet. I've got to do the same thing. I've got to cut them out just like before. Same deal, different cookie shapes. Now this is the most important part right here, this one, because the rest of them can be fudged a little, but that's iconically the front of the Smith Tower. The first one we're going to try and do. This is thinner up here, so because this cookie isn't perfect, I'm gonna go ahead and put the thin part on top. And because we are doing this all ad hoc and crazy like, and it's all ideally gonna end up white in the end, I'm gonna go ahead and do this up the side and kind of power glue this that way. Friends, so there she is. She's a gingerbread Smith Tower. Here are the things I learned about building a gingerbread house. The actual assembly of gingerbread, not hard to do at all. Completely viable, something anybody could go ahead and try. So if you're interested in doing like gingerbread men or building your own standard gingerbread house, easy peasy, pretty easy to do. It works out pretty well, it bakes pretty well. However, you're gonna probably want to actually make traditional royal icing or something with a good binding. I used canned frosting because I really wanted to frost the entire outside of it and make it white and then do little picture windows, which is kind of what I ended up doing. Depending on the way your house is built, pieces have to sit on top of each other. Smith Tower has a square base and a second rectangular shape on top, and then it has a point. And because of that, the assembly of it as its own standing structure wasn't easy to pull off. And so I ended up building a model and then attaching the pieces to it. The milk carton equivalent. I built a model and then I kind of adhered the gingerbread to it. It worked out pretty okay in the end. It's easier to build a gingerbread house over a series of days. I had to do this all on the day of this video. You're gonna probably want to space that out. The reason being, you want to be able to let individual pieces icing glue themselves together, and it would probably be best to do that one piece at a time and then slowly build it into being a really super strong structure. When I read the recipe that I chose, they said to decorate each of the segments and then assemble them. I think that could work if you're dealing in really strong icing and you've got lots of time to let it sit and you're really good at not knocking pieces off of them as you go. I would never do that, and I've actually never met anyone who built a gingerbread house that way. If that's something you guys do, let me know in the comments below. Anyway, if any of you have tips for gingerbread houses that you've built before, or any kind of like weird food you've attempted to make that went interestingly, let me know in the comments. Overall, it was interesting and fun, and I'm actually really happy with the way it turned out. I will enjoy this through the holidays. I hope everyone's having a good one. Please leave me a comment below. Something you have cooked and enjoyed cooking, something you've baked and enjoyed baking, maybe something you love cooking or baking this time of the year. And I hope you all are having a wonderful turn into the holidays. Switch into the iPhone. Best adventures, rock stars. Amara in Seattle.